Asante sana, lakini Mheshimiwa Rais, nishukuru sana kamati chini ya mwenyekiti wetu, lakini niwashukuru sana waheshimiwa wabunge wa Handeni pamoja na wabunge wote wa mkoa wa Tanga kwa kazi kubwa na nzuri juu ya usimamizi huo na mradi, na chama chetu cha Mapinduzi na mkuu wa mkoa wetu wa Tanga kwa kazi nzuri wanayoifanya. Asante sana. Mheshimiwa Rais, karibu sana.
Asante Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa heshima na taadhima, naomba sasa tuelekee eneo ambalo taweka jiwe la msingi tukiandika historia nyingine, mradi wa maji kwa miji 28 Tanga. Na kama alivyosema Mheshimiwa Waziri, ni juhudi zako kwa vitendo kabisa za kumtua ndoo mama kichwani, na hii ni dhamira ya dhati ulionyesha mapema tukilihutubia bunge, na sasa umeweza na unatekeleza. Makofi mengi kwa Mheshimiwa Rais. Tumetimia 1, 2, 3. Makofi kina mama, vigelegele. Okay. Asante. Jiwe la msingi la mradi wa maji wa miji 28 kwa miji ya Handeni, Korogwe, Muheza na Pangani unaotekelezwa kwa kushirikiana na serikali ya India limewekwa na Mheshimiwa Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, tarehe 25 Februari 2025. Makofi tena mengi na vigelegele. Haya, sasa tuna wafanyakazi tuzunguke nyuma haraka tupate picha ya kumbukumbu. Baadaye Mheshimiwa Balozi na Mheshimiwa Rais. Ndo anaanza ya kwanza. Hiyo ya kwanza wanapiga wote. Haya, asanteni. Twende kundi lingine linalofuata. Ngoja bado wanasema. Ngoja. Kundi la pili tunaomba. Mheshimiwa mwenyekiti wa kamati. Sasa Sasa picha itakayofuata ni Mheshimiwa Rais, Mheshimiwa Balozi na Waziri wa Maji tu. Wengine wote tupishe. Maji yanamwagika. Wengine wote sasa tutoke. Kekeni vizuri. Wataalamu tuweke jinsi tunavyoitaka hii picha ya Mheshimiwa Rais, Balozi na Mheshimiwa Waziri. Nadhani iweje?
Ngoja kwanza, afadhali. Haya. Mheshimiwa Waziri, uongozi wote wa wizara, Mheshimiwa Balozi, habari za mchana. Na wafanyakazi wote, habari za mchana. Mheshimiwa Waziri, kwanza ni pongezi kwenu. Ulipozungumza sifa zote ulinipa mimi. lakini mimi nafanya kazi kwenye makaratasi na kutafuta fedha. Kazi ya kujenga miundombinu yote ya maji inafanywa na wizara kupitia mainjinia na wataalamu hawa walokuwepo. Kwa hiyo ile sifa yote ya maji, tulivyogeuza sekta ya maji nchini, ni sifa yenu. Nami nawashukuru sana sana sana. Mnaijua wizara ya maji ilivyokuwa. Mheshimiwa hapa huwa anasema ilikuwa wizara ya lawama, lakini sasa ni wizara ya sifa. Niombe sana muendelee na sifa hii. Lakini ndugu zangu, hapa mnafanya kazi, tunawalipa kidogo, najua mshahara ni mdogo hautoshi, lakini kwa Mungu tunapata kikubwa zaidi. Wote tumetoka vijijini, tufikirieni hali ilivyokuwa ya mama zetu, dada zetu kule tulikotoka, na leo tunavyowasogezea maji ya bomba karibu, kuyatoka yanakotoka na kuwasogezea, tumewapunguzia mzigo wa kiasi gani? Lakini tumewapa nafasi ya kufanya ibada kwa vizuri. Bila maji hakuna ibada, lakini yanapokuja maji ibada zinafanyika, hygiene inakuwepo. Tumezuia maradhi kwa kiasi kikubwa. Wananchi wamepata afua ya kupata maradhi, hasa yale wanaita ni waterborne diseases. Sasa yameondoka, kama yapo kiasi kidogo sana. Kwa hiyo ndugu zangu, mimi nawarudishia nyinyi shukrani na nawapongeza sana kwa kazi nzuri mlioifanya. Kuanzia mwaka 22 tuseme 21 yote tulikuwa tunasukumana. Kila siku nikimkuta waziri, wizara yako badilika. Lakini 22 mkasema sasa tunaanza kazi. 22, 23, 24, you have done a tremendous job. Kazi yangu mimi ni kuzunguka kutafuta fedha na kuletewa makaratasi, ramani zikoje, wapi tunaenda, fedha ngapi inatakiwa. Hii nazunguka na itafuta, lakini wachapa kazi ni nyinyi. Mimi nawashukuru sana. Asanteni sana. Na msife moyo, chapeni kazi. Asanteni sana.
Ya tumshangilie tena Mheshimiwa Rais kwa makofi mengi. Makofi, 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 kina mama vigelegele. Maji oye! Maji! Maji! Yapo ya kutosha, anamwagika mwa. Mheshimiwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania anaondoka. DJ
Thank you very much. We very much appreciate the attention. Today's a big day in that we had a G7 and President Macron, who's a very special man in my book. We were together, we did it together, and I think a lot of progress has been made. We've had some very good talks with Russia. We've had some very good talks with others, and we're trying to get the war ended with Russia and Ukraine, and I think we've come a long way in a short period of weeks, and the President's been very helpful also. And we're also talking about trade, various trade deals that we we'll be doing with France, and we'll be discussing a little bit further. Then we'll have a press conference later on. You can ask some questions. We'll be having a press conference in a little while. We're going to have lunch with the entire French staff, and we look forward to it. And again, the relationship's been very special with France and very special with this gentleman on my right. And we look forward to keeping that going for a long period of time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. I want to thank Mr. President for his hospitality. We had a good discussion this morning for the G7 here.
Yeah.
And for the third year of this war in Ukraine, and I think our common objective clearly is to build peace, and a solid and long-standing peace. And this is what we will discuss, obviously, because I have great respect for the bravery and the resistance of Ukrainian people, and we do share the objective of peace, but we are very aware of the necessity to have guarantees and solid peace in order to stabilize the situation. I'm here as a friend because through centuries we've been friends, and we are personal friends, as you mentioned it, because we work very well together. And I think the US and France always stands on the same side, the right side, I would say, of history. Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what is at stake today. And this is a very important moment for Europe as well, and I'm here as well after discussions with all my colleagues to say that Europe is willing to step up, to be a stronger partner, to do more in defense and security for the continent, and as well to be a reliable partner and to be engaged on trade, economy, investment in a lot of topics. So I'm very excited by the discussion we will have, and obviously we will follow up. And I want to thank you again, Mr. President, for your presence for Notre-Dame de Paris. It meant a lot for French people, and I want to thank you for that.
That's the cathedral, and they've done a fantastic job. The president's done a great job in bringing it back. That was a terrible thing, like, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Watching that burn was a very horrible sight, and you've done a fantastic job in bringing it back, so I congratulate you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Thank you
President.
very much.
Thank you.
Anybody want to ask a question or two? Or is that a foolish question?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Ukrainians on the critical minerals deal.
It looks like we're getting very close. The deal's being worked on, and we're, I think, getting very close to getting an agreement where we get our money back over a period of time. But it also gives us something where I think it's very beneficial to their economy, to them as a country. But, you know, we're in for $350 billion. How we got there, I don't know, but that's a lot of money, a lot of money invested, and we had nothing to show for it. And it was the Biden administration's fault. The Europeans are in for about $100 billion, and they do it as in the form of a loan. And the Europeans have been great on this issue. They understood it wasn't fair, and we were able to work something out. But with the Ukrainians, I think I can say that we're very close. Scott's around here someplace, and I think we can say that we're very, hi Scott, I think we're very close. Do you have something to say about that, Scott?
We are very close. The
Good.
1 yard line.
All right, good.
Mr.
President.
What?
Would a mineral deal include a security guarantee for Ukraine?
Well, it'll be, Europe is going to make sure that nothing happens. I don't think it's going to be much of a problem. I think once we settle, there's going to be no more war in Ukraine, and you're not going to have it's not going to be a very big problem. That's going to be the least of it.
Mr. President, we're hearing from some Greek media reporting that the U.S. has agreed to shut down a military base in Greece that's been a logistical hub for NATO.
That who shut down?
That the U.S. has agreed to shut it down at the request of Turkey and Russia. Is that at all true?
Marco, do you have anything to say about that?
Sir, that's a no. That's a no, sir. Mr. President. Mr. President.
Is it a no?
It's a no, sir.
It's not a correct story.
Thank you.
Mr. President, how do you react to people in Europe who say that you are abandoning Ukraine and that you are going to sacrifice the security of Ukraine by making a deal with Vladimir Putin?
No, we're helping Ukraine like nobody's ever helped Ukraine before. And I can say this, if I didn't become president, Ukraine would right now still be at a level where there would be no even thinking about a peace. And it was it's a sad thing that this happened. This would have never happened, this war, if I were president. Zero chance. And it has happened. So my function is to get you out of the war, get them out of the war, let them live. It's a bloody war, it's a horrible war. Thousands of people are being killed a week. And I would say Russia, maybe 700,000 people. I think Ukraine probably a similar number. And that's not talking about the towns and the cities that have been blown up. That's talking about soldiers. This has been a horrible, bloody mess. And we're going to get it solved. We got to get it solved. And you know, we're not talking about America's soldiers, soldiers from this country. We're talking about Russia and Ukraine. But on a humanitarian basis, we have to get this very, very bloody, savage problem solved. And I will say this also, it could lead to World War III if it's not solved. You know, there'll be a point at which it's not going to stop at those two countries. Already there's such involvement from other countries. And it could really lead to a very big war, World War III, and we're not going to let that happen either.
Would you support the idea to send European troops in Ukraine to back the ceasefire?
European troops may go into Ukraine as peacemakers. So when the agreement is done, they can watch that everything's followed properly. I don't think that's going to be a problem. And a lot of the European countries, I think, I don't want to speak for France, but I know that the president's talked about doing that also. I think that'll be a very good day when we can go in as peacekeepers as opposed to what's going on right now with everybody being killed.
Will they have U.S. backing, those troops going into Ukraine? Will they have U.S. backing from U.S. troops?
Well, we're going to have a backing of some kind, and obviously the European countries are going to be involved. And I don't think you're going to need much backing. I think that's not going to be a problem. Once an agreement is signed, Russia's going to get back to its business, and Ukraine and Europe are going to get back to their business. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Can you talk about DOGE?
Will you meet with President Zelensky soon?
What?
Will you meet with President Zelensky soon?
I will be meeting with President Zelensky. In fact, he may come in this week or next week to sign the agreement, and which would be nice. I'd love to meet him. Would meet at the Oval Office. So the agreement's being worked on now. They're very close to a final deal. It'll be a deal with rare earths and various other things, and he would like to come, as I understand it, here to sign it, and that would be great with me. I think they then have to get it approved by their council or whoever might approve it, but I'm sure that will happen.
Monsieur le Président Macron, est-ce que vous pouvez commenter ce qui a été dit par le
meeting with President Putin also, yes. I don't know when we speak. We're trying to get this thing worked out, but yeah, at some point I'll be meeting with President Putin too.
Monsieur Macron, s'il vous plaît, est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire quelques mots en français?
Mr.
I
President.
can say a few words in French. No, le président l'a dit, je pense que c'est un moment important. C'est un moment important de la discussion. On veut bâtir la paix en Ukraine et le bilan qui a été rappelé, une réalité, il y a d'1 million de morts et de blessés depuis le début de ce conflit et de cette guerre d'agression. Notre volonté, c'est que cette paix dure, parce que nous avons déjà eu un cessez-le-feu et une paix qui n'a pas été respectée. C'était les accords de Minsk, 1 puis 2. Et donc le corps de cette discussion, c'est de s'assurer d'abord qu'il y ait un cessez-le-feu, ensuite que les Ukrainiens soient impliqués. Et je pense que ce que vient de dire à l'instant le président Trump est très important, c'est-à-dire qu'il va rencontrer rapidement le président Zelensky pour signer cet accord sur les minerais critiques et les terres rares, et que c'est aussi un moyen d'avoir une implication américaine forte. Les Européens sont prêts à prendre leur charge sous des formes diverses, de soutien à l'armée ukrainienne, de présence y compris pour s'assurer que la paix soit durable. Et l'implication dans la durée des États-Unis d'Amérique à travers cet accord est une bonne chose. Et donc tout est encore à construire, et je ne veux pas préempter les discussions. Mais nous partageons le même objectif, et ce qu'on a discuté ce matin pendant 1 heure après la visioconférence ensemble, et ce qu'on va continuer de travailler, sont pour moi des bonnes avancées. Et l'annonce de...
Est-ce que l'intégrité territoriale de l'Ukraine est encore un objectif possible?
Spoken about this just a moment ago. This is exactly what we want to do. We want to build peace with Ukraine. As President Trump mentioned, there are already 1 million dead and wounded in Ukraine since the war began. We had a ceasefire in the past that was not respected. This was under the Minsk Agreements 1 and 2. President Trump, as he said, will be meeting with President Zelensky to sign a deal on rare earths. And we are pleased to see this very strong American involvement. Europe, of course, also stands ready to support Ukraine in various ways, supporting its military. And we don't want to preempt any sort of discussions that are currently underway, but we do share the same objective of building this lasting peace.
I just want to tell you a little story. So we were at the Eiffel Tower having dinner with your wonderful wife and with my wonderful wife, and we came out and he started speaking the French deal. And we didn't have an interpreter, and he was going on and on and on, and I was just nodding, yes, yes, yes. And he really sold me out, because I got back the next day and I read the papers. I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that. Sure.
How would you modify
exactly what we agreed to.
Mr. President, you called Zelensky a dictator. Would you use the same words regarding Putin?
I don't use those words lightly. I think that we're going to see how it all works out. Let's see what happens. I think we have a chance of a really good settlement between various countries. And, you know, you're talking about Europe, and you're talking about Ukraine as part of that whole situation. The other side has a lot of support also. So let's see how it all works out. It might work out. Look, you can never make up lives. The one thing you can make up the money, but you can't make up the lives. A lot of lives lost. I think probably a lot more lives than people are talking about. It's been a rough war, but I think we're close to getting it solved.
Question about Doge, sir. Do you think that Doge could benefit from more streamlined communications? There was that email telling employees to give 5 things that they've done last week. Agency heads then told people to ignore it, but
You're
Elon
talking
Musk...
about the last email that was sent, where he wanted to know what you did this week. You know why he wanted that, by the way? I thought it was great. Because we have people that don't show up to work and nobody even knows if they work for the government. So by asking the question, tell us what you did this week, what he's doing is saying, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, like you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired, because a lot of people are not answering because they don't even exist. They're trying to find, that's how badly various parts of our government were run by, and especially by this last group. So what they're doing is they're trying to find out who's working for the government. Are we paying other people that aren't working? And, you know, where's all that? Where's the money going? We have found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud so far, and we've just started. We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is there, because maybe somebody stole the gold. Tons of gold.
Some of the agencies...
So I think it was actually... There was a lot of genius in sending it. We're trying to find out if people are working. And so we're sending a letter to people, please tell us what you did last week. If people don't respond, it's very possible that there is no such person or they're not working.
Some of the agency heads instructed their employees not to respond because they were waiting on further guidance, but Elon Musk's tweet said a failure to respond would be taken as a resignation. So there's been a disconnect in communications.
Yeah.
Are you concerned at all about
Only,
that?
No. That was done in a friendly manner. Only things such as perhaps Marco at State Department, where they have very confidential things, or the FBI, where they're working on confidential things. And they don't mean that in any way combatively with Elon. They're just saying there are some people that you don't want to really have them tell you what they're working on last week. But other than that, I think everyone thought it was a pretty ingenious idea. We have to find out where these people are. Who are they? And we said, if you don't respond, we assume you're not around.
And that holds, that stands.
And you're not getting paid anymore, too. So, you know, we're doing a real job. And we just had a poll come out, I guess the Harvard poll, saying that it's massively popular what we're doing. So.
Mr. President, do you still believe in NATO, in the alliance between Europe and America in NATO? Are you going
NATO
to
is
in June?
very much involved in this. When I first got elected at the very beginning, first term, I got hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO. NATO had no money because they hadn't paid for years. And I said, look, if you don't pay, we're not going to be a part of NATO, we're not going to protect, we're not going to do what we're supposed to do. And we took in hundreds of billions of dollars into NATO. No, NATO is a good thing if it's done properly and if it's used properly.
Mr. President, in these days you speak a lot about tariff in Canada, in Mexico, and in Europe. I want to know what is your idea about Italy, if you want to make the same thing in Italy.
What?